I'm over here struggling too, girl. I'm like, wait, well, how do I record this? Wait.
You look so cute.
Kind of, sort of.
No, you are cute, girl. Listen, I should have popped in my my mouthpiece. Emmanuel's about to rash me. I just got reminded because I see your braces. I'm like, dang, I don't have my little smile direct in.
Listen,
anyway,
I was
hi
like,
guys, welcome to all those who are joining in. This is Joselyne. Did I say your name right? Because I'm always calling you Joss. Guys, she's an incredible stylist located in Boston. She does all textures. She creates her own hair oil, beard oil. She also teaches people on the other side of things, and she also does lessons. So if you're furthering your education as a hairstylist and you want to know different techniques within braiding, different types of hair care, she is the go-to person. Me and Jaws actually went to the same beauty school at 2 different times. Okay, I actually went to Tony and Guy before, and then she came in after, and then I met her. And so, literally, the first time I met you, Jaws, do you remember that day we were in the barber shop, and I think it was, Upham's Corner, right? Upham's Corner, and I was like, listen, I need my hair braided by you. I need you to do this hair. And I remember I brought my camera. We did this bomb style, and then it was just like, boom. Like, girl, can you imagine? Like, wow, years have gone by. And so Joss has grown as a stylist, and she has done amazing things for our community. She has done amazing things for people individually. And I just wanted her to be on here so you guys can hear her story. So Joss, can you tell us a little bit about yourself other than the stuff that I said, you know, like your name, your age, where you're from, whatever you want the people to know.
Nothing. No, sorry, fine. Hey everybody, thank you for joining in. Thank you for coming through and showing love. I hope everyone is blessed and positive during these times. But yeah, so I go by Jaws. It's a nickname I've had for 15 plus years. Before hair, before all that stuff, I used to be a professional dancer.
Wait. Just clarify what kind of dancer this is.
I know, I literally was just about to go there because I was like, hold on. Long story short, I was like underground hip hop. I did B-girling mostly, which is like breakdancing and things like that. And basically it was my nickname, and it's just carried over. I've always been calm, cool, and collective, but when it's time to like deliver, I've always come full throttle. So like it's literally just carried over in everything I do as I've gotten older. But yeah, so my name is Joselyne Ortega. I go by Jaws. I'm 30 years old, and I've been licensed for about 3 years now, 3.5 years. Been doing hair on and off for 15 years, just as much. Grew up doing hair. Both my parents are dual licensed, so they're both barbers and cosmetologists.
Really? I feel like you told me that about your dad, but I didn't know your mom was as well.
Yeah, that's
wow. So you come from like a line of like hairstylists. Wow.
Yeah. So both my parents are hairdressers. That's how they met, actually. My dad was my mom. Well, my mom was taking an advanced educational class, and my dad was her instructor. Yeah. So
you see, all you hairstylists that are here, you might be looking around for your significant other, but it's really, you gotta listen. Go fill yourself up. Go take those classes, and you might meet them. Okay.
Exactly. So. Yeah, so both hairdressers. My dad currently still does it. My mom's retired now, but yeah, so kind of dabbled in hair my whole life. Always was a side hustle. Also just been around the arts, you know, just full on artist. Always love to be creative. And just like with time comes maturity, and with maturity comes wisdom and growth. And I feel like with all of that being said, like when you are passionate and you love what you do, it should always reflect. Exactly. You shouldn't be the same person you were last week. Just like nobody should be coming out of this quarantine the same, you know. A lot of people, if this is the time for you to deal with your spirit, it's the time to deal with your spirit. If it's the time for you to deal with things that you've been putting off for years that you would have literally never had the time for, this is just the time to do so. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Me and Emmanuel were talking about that the other day, and it's like when you go through something like this, like granted this pandemic is so like alarming, but you can literally take this time and shift it around for your benefit, and not only just your benefit, but the benefit for others. Whether that means resting more because you overwork yourself, that's still important, because by the time this is over, you will be a more well-rested individual that has better practices in rest. You could also be someone that doesn't really do much because you always felt like you never had time. Now you have the time. Start off small. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But that was so awesome, Joss, that story, just with your parents meeting in like an extra, like she was furthering her education more, and then Boom, her husband's right there. He was teaching?
Yeah.
He was teaching. Okay, get that. All right, so I have some questions here for Jaws, you guys. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna be prepared. I'm prepared for her. Okay.
So
Jaws, my love, tell me let's just start off with some gratitude in this moment. Give me 5 things that you're grateful for today.
I'm grateful for the sunlight. It's a reflection, yeah. Girl, the glow, I see you. I see you. Listen.
Listen, this window is like, boom. So the sun.
Yeah, I like, as cheesy as that sounds, like it's always a reminder that like especially the sun and the reflection, it's always a reminder of being present. And it catches me always off guard. I'm like, oh, there you are. Okay, cool. So definitely that. I think my siblings, I'm so grateful. I think being one of 7, I'm one of 7. So being one of 7 siblings, you grow up with a lot of like pros and cons. But I feel like the older you get, and especially in moments like this, you're so grateful for having support and loved ones. I think that's definitely a big one. Third, I'm so grateful for my physical wellness and health. Yeah, especially someone who's dealt with sciatica her whole, like the last 2 years. And,
can you tell the people what sciatica is for those who may not know?
Yes, so sciatica is basically your sciatic nerve that's located on your lower back and connects to your hip, can go all the way down to your knee and to your ankle. Mine was so bad to the point that like my leg would go numb, I'd get aches, all different types. I've had to call out on clients, like it was really bad. So by taking care of myself and creating, instead of habits, lifestyle, that's helped so much. What else? So I'm grateful for my wellness. I'm also grateful, that's 3, right? Yep. 4th, I'm grateful for my relationship with God, because it consistently keeps me present, and it reminds me that I can't base things off emotions. You know, emotions will lead you to those places. So I'm grateful for my relationship with my relationship with God. And then lastly, I'm so happy and grateful for my home, because it feels like home. A lot of people don't like being home because it doesn't feel like home, and it's not always a safe place. Home should always start within, but definitely projected on a material level. Like, I'm just grateful for my home.
Oh, that's so incredible. I love those things. I am grateful for like pretty much the same things: my health, my family, my home, all of that. Right, let's get into some hair questions. So the first question I have for you: what are your 3 favorite tools that you cannot live without when doing your own hair or a client's hair?
Okay, this is gonna sound so cheesy, but the first one is my hands. Like, I consider my hands a tool. Like, me and Manny talked about this the other day about like insurance for disability insurance and protecting your hands. Like, this is my greatest tool. Like, this is how I make my livelihood. This is how I connect. This is my artistry. Like, there's something, just like some people connect to pen and paper, it's the same thing connecting to like touch and feel for me. My number one thing I can't live without is the actual like touch, like my hands. So that sounds cheesy, but it's so true. That's the number one thing.
No, but it's true.
Yes. The second thing I can't live without are bobby pins. I know it sounds bad, but yes. Oh my God, yes. So the reason why, especially like open pins, I can't live without open pins. Why? Because
the open bobby pin.
Yes, the open pins. Yes, because, okay, so scrunchies 90% of the time are horrible. They have so much rubber in them. And then I have like a mixture of like curly but wavy but frizzy confused hair. So a lot of the times, and a lot of my clients are dealing with either their hair's too thick or not thick enough. So one of the biggest things that I love are open pins, because I can literally naturally style the hair without putting too much tension or texture just over pulling the hair or anything. And because they don't have the rubber at the end of the pin, it doesn't cause like abrasions or breakage or anything. It's actually the healthiest way of, if you're going to do a messy bun, or whatever the case may be, it's the best tool to use. So I can't live without open pins.
That is very true. My best friend is like the bun queen, and she literally would make my hair into like this giant bun. And the other day, I literally posted a picture with that big bun, and she was like, get the bobby pins with the open side. I'm like, girl, I do have a lot of those. And I remember, now that you're saying that, Tony and I like to naturally just like,
I like them. Yep.
it's a different way, so you don't have all that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, for any woman that wants to have that famous bun, get you some. Now, what's the last one?
And then the last thing, I would say jojoba oil. I cannot live without
Oh,
jojoba oil. Why?
oh, I
Because
love
no matter the texture I'm dealing with, whether it's my own hair, coily, wavy, whatever the case may be, jojoba oil is such a light oil that it, like the
yeah.
strand and the cuticle just absorbs it and it's hydrating. Like most girls will experience, and guys, that they'll put it on and the very next day they're like, where'd it go? Like my hair feels dry today or whatever the case may be. I'm like, yes, it absorbs it. It doesn't just sit there. So yeah, 100% jojoba
Exactly.
oil. So jojoba
I
oil,
love,
open pins, and my hands.
I love that. I love, especially that you said jojoba oil, because as a stylist, like it shows that you think about the integrity of the hair and actually
Yeah.
making sure so it could be its best, like within strength, elasticity, and all of those things. That's incredible.
And one of the
Thank
biggest
you for
things I
that.
think too is definitely like
Mhm.
even when you're using like picks and combs and stuff like that to brush through your hair, I always tell people rub like the jojoba oil on it because on the
Yes,
stuff like
yes.
that it'll help lubricate it. Or like when people use scrunchies or rubber bands, like when I prep my rubber bands at work, I always drop a few drops of oil on them
No,
just to help
yeah,
them
that's
marinate so
so
they're not
good.
like super, yeah, so different things like that. It just helps so much.
Oh my gosh. See, you
Yeah.
guys, these are tips that, I mean, you can't get from anyone else. Like, I don't know anybody that would have told you to just sprinkle some oil, okay? My next question is, who inspired you to do hair? As you said earlier, that your mom and dad were both hairstylists. Are they the ones that inspired you to do hair, or did you, meet somebody else? Like, who inspired you?
So for me, it would be a two-part
Hmm.
aspect of it, right? Because initially, yes, my parents got me into the game, meaning like I was exposed to it through them. I feel like for a huge part of it, I've always wanted, like, my dad was my biggest, like, influence. Like, the way he spoke about hair, the way he
Hmm.
touched hair, the way he grew hair, he had growing hands. For those who don't know what that means, it's just like he could cut hair and 2 months
No.
later, you're like, what happened? You look like a chia pet. It's so big. Like,
Yeah.
he inspired me to be above like the criteria of what a hairdresser would be like. So I never really thought about becoming a hairdresser. It was always a side hustle. And I think initially what inspired me overall to just do it full throttle were my clients. Being that I was just braiding hair at the time, I just had so many clients that just trusted me and saw that their hair was growing and stuff. And a lot of my clientele was just like, listen, my hair's growing with your hands. Like, what do you
Yeah.
suggest with this? What do you suggest with that? Like, what about my, I have this thing on my, I think this is a disease. Should I go check a doctor out? And there were a lot of things that I couldn't answer because I wasn't knowledgeable in that way. I can't hear you.
Let me see. Make sure you guys can hear me. What's up, Brand?
I don't know what that
I
was.
can hear you.
I don't know what that was.
Girl, I know what that was, but I ain't gonna say nothing, child.
I
Hey,
rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Listen, so yeah, so two parts. So what inspired me initially
Thanks,
was, being exposed to my parents doing it, but mostly my dad. Like the
Mhm.
way he spoke about hair, the way he did hair, just like it was above anything, even till now, that I've seen in a lot of stylists. So initially, that's what catapulted me to be like, when I did do it, even if it was a hobby, it was going to be the best damn hobby I've ever had. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
That was initially it. But I think what really pushed me to be the stylist educator that I am today is my clients. Like, it started off like, again, just being a braider and not knowing, and people asking questions like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I think a lot of it was the integrity and the honesty that I came with. Like, if I didn't know, I didn't know. And I'd be like, girl, let me do some research and get back to you. And I think that they just appreciated that because they were tired of being upsold, especially in our community, where they're like, oh, you do curly hair, come, I'm gonna give you a curly cut and you look crazy. Or like, hey, this is the best product for you. So I think a lot of it was speaking from experience, having integrity, and just being accessible, right? Because a lot of people don't want to go after work is done. They don't want to come back. And yeah, that was basically it. But again, it started with my father, and then I think initially to where I am today, it was a lot of my clientele, that had the influence.
I love that. Literally, like you said something that's so key. And like, even when I was a stylist, that's one thing I felt like as a stylist when reflecting on other stylists, not to compare, but integrity. Like, if you don't know something, you just don't know it.
You
Don't
just
act
don't
like
know
you
it.
know it. Just say you don't know. It's so much better than putting your clients at risk for getting a bad hairstyle or even damaging their hair. You know what I mean? So I love that you said you learn from your clients, and then you also kept that integrity as a stylist.
Yeah.
My next question is, what is your favorite style to do? Because as many people may know, if they follow you, you do amazing braids. And like, for me, I'm like, what if this is not her favorite thing to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what if she like does not actually like braids? But I mean, I know you love everything you do, but what is your favorite hairstyle to do?
Okay. So that's funny you say that, because some people have asked me, they're like, the way you do hair, you must love braiding hair. And I'm like, so yes, I have a huge passion for braiding. And I think a lot of it has to do because I'm able to be creative with it. If I had to do box braids and straight backs and very simple styles for the rest of my life, I don't think I'd braid. I don't think it would be something I'd do long term. Right. I think my favorite part of hairdressing is dressing the hair, is styling the hair. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest like passions I've developed over the years is editorial and avant-garde, which is detail work, very high fashion, very stuff. And what I love about it is that because I've taken so much time to develop my skills with braiding, mm-hmm. I'm able to go into a concept or an idea and be able to add that, but then emphasize everything else with hairdressing. Like I can do something from finger waves into braiding, into some baby hair, and I'm able to represent for our communities within these areas where like a lot of people of color aren't really doing hair and aren't really doing that type of styling. A lot of people just kind of like, hey, I want to be hood rich, or I want to be like locally known, and I'm okay with being in my shop, and that's fine, to each their own. But for me, I've always wanted to do more than. So my favorite part of hairdressing definitely has to be dressing the hair, styling. Yeah. So that could be anywhere from braiding to finger waves to everything. It's just literally creating a customized style for you.
I know, and I think that's the amazing thing about you, Joz, as a stylist that a lot of people probably don't even know. But if you follow Joz and go on her Instagram, she has some amazing avant-garde looks that she has created. Like there's one that I remember I texted you and I was like, sis, it's not on your Instagram feed anymore. Please text me this picture. And you've done so many that you're like, which one? I was like, you literally braided the props, you braided the hair, and it was like these beautiful, beautiful models with this beautiful braided like headpieces, and they were like crowns, and like I think you like this other like shape thing. I can't think of the name right now, but it was like incredible. And as a stylist, that you even allow yourself to be a creative in that aspect and travel out, because you've been to New York, you've been like to a couple of different states doing that. So that's awesome. I love your avant-garde work. Thank you. For anybody that's looking for a stylist that can do avant-garde, they literally need to book you. Okay. All right. Okay. So my next question is, do you remember your first celebrity client? And if so, you don't have to say their name. You could just tell me about their experience. Like, how was that? Like, as a stylist, and even as like my friend, when I found out that you did celebrity hair, like for basketball players and even their wives and all that, I was like, yes, Joz, you are pushing the ceiling up, like for real. So how was that? How did they book you? How was that whole experience?
Okay, so one of the biggest disclaimers I always give people is that what's for you won't pass you. And literally years before I want to say at least 2-3 years before I decided to actually full throttle go into hair and get my license and all that stuff, I was working at a local barbershop, like in the hood, in a barbershop, got a license, all the way in the back, some nitty gritty stuff, and I just was not happy with being there. And I knew that I wanted more. And I feel like there's power in manifestation and there's power in hard work, right? And I think one of the biggest disclaimers that I try to give people is that a lot of people are like, especially with social media, it's one of the biggest tools you'll ever have, but you have to use it accordingly. Like, I would never, and I say that like, you know, like openly, I would never do a celebrity's hair for free. Never. Like, I feel that I treat all my clients the same way. If you're a celebrity, if you're someone who just walked in, like you're getting the homegirl, like I've known you for 5 years, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, the whole nine. Why? Because my clients who work 9 to 5 and work really hard for their money, just like anyone else, make it a point to book me constantly every single month. They look out for me, they bring me water. Forget about tipping, forget about all that. Like the conversations, they check in with me. It's not only me checking in with them. They're doing all these different things and holding me accountable just like I hold them accountable. And we have this relationship versus a celebrity comes into your chair and that might be the first and only time they sit there. So for you, it's your job as a stylist to always give that first experience. experience to them, right? So it's what I've created, the by Jaws experience. Like, how can I separate myself from everyone else when that person's in my chair? So even if you're coming once a year, I'm your go-to person, right? And I think with my celebrities or with my athletes and stuff like that, a lot of it has just been word of mouth. Like, I've never contacted a celebrity and was like, hey, you should come see me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I think I had a manager at the time who when, God rest his soul, Nipsey Hussle came into Boston and was like, oh, put out a thing so people can do it. And I did that. And I was like, I felt so cheesy. And I was like, yeah, I would never do that. That wasn't me. It wasn't me. Right. And nothing happens out of it. I mean, for some people it does. But for me, it was just like, I felt thirsty. And I'm like, if that was in alignment with what God has for me, then it would have happened.
It's true.
You know what I mean? And what isn't, it's fine. Yeah, and it's fine. So my first athlete ever was Gerald Green. And he actually contacted me. He used to play for the Heat in Miami, and he was making his way into Boston to play for the Celtics. So I think it was a local breeder in Florida that connected him to me, or like he just found me on social media, something. But he found me on Instagram and was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Like, would love for you to be my stylist, like, during the duration of my time. So one thing led to another, and that's kind of how everything happened. And then what really kind of blew up was when I did the Celtics clover braid on his hair.
Yes. I love, literally, as soon as I saw that, I was like, dog, there's only one person I know that can do that.
Yeah, well, it was crazy because he definitely was just like, we should do something different for open game. And it's funny because people thought that was like the first and only time I did his hair. I had been doing his hair for maybe 3 months prior to that. But
wow.
He was like, we got to do something different. This is opening game. I was like, what are you thinking? He's like, Celtics clover. And I'm like, maybe we could do that next time. And he was like, no, I want that this time. I was like, all right, cool. And we did it. And it was just like, I was scared, like, beyond my, like, wildest dreams. Because I was like, yo, this is about to be on TV. This is crap. You know what I mean?
Right there, it's like your work being, like, shown to millions. Like, ESPN got that plastered. Okay.
Yes. So it was really, really cool. And again, what I loved about Gerald was that he challenged me all the time. He wanted something different. He's super into, like, fashion and style and all that stuff. So for him, it was like, every time he did his hair, it was like something different, something different, something different. So it was really, really cool to be able to expose my work like that. So he was definitely my first athlete, artist, whatever. And then after that, it was just like word of mouth. Like, either he recommended people or I started doing different people and they started recommending other people. And then that's when I created my traveling styling list. So like I travel for them or they can come to me, and then I have my separate schedule for my regular clients. And then one thing led to another. Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. You see, that's one thing I feel like a lot of people don't realize, that you can chase your dreams, but you don't have to beg for your dreams to happen. Like,
but see, and I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I'm sorry, sis. I don't mean to cut you off. And I think that's the misconception. I think that people, they think that when you're saying chase your dreams, they're saying like chase the people, chase the artist, chase all that. No. By chasing your dream, it means being prepared for the opportunity. Like, confidence comes with preparation. So the more prepared you are for those opportunities, like, this is what manifestation looks like. I literally have a video on my Instagram all the way down from maybe like 2 years prior to me actually getting Gerald Green and actually full throttle doing hair, that I literally did a mannequin and I wrote Celtics on the top, like in braiding, and then I did a clover in the back. And I remember sitting down and doing that. And I remember my mom walking by me and she was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm practicing so when I get these athletes, you know? And I'll never forget that. And that was 2 years prior. So it's like the power of manifestation, that when Gerald walked in, technically it wasn't the first time I ever did that clover braid. I had already prior done that on a mannequin 2 years prior to.
Did it 2 years before. Oh, see, I hope everybody that's tuned in is listening. It's not what you do publicly. Sometimes it's what you do privately. I don't know if this got frozen.
Yeah, the amount of training. Am I freezing? No, you're back to, I don't know. Now I can't hear you. Girl, that's service. Yo, service. Girl. Yep. Yes, manifestation. Why? Yo no sé.
Welcome, sis. Guys, thank you so much for coming back. I don't know why. Okay, first of all, it's my saints up in here. I don't know why the enemy's trying to come for this live, okay? This is our third time doing this. Like, what? Like, why is this the third time we're doing this, sis?
Don't say.
Why?
Because we dropping gems, yo.
Okay, we're trying to help people.
Listen.
Share your story while shedding some light. Okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so the power of manifestation
Yes.
is insane, because those who know me know the amount of like, people see what I put out on Instagram, right? Because we only put out what we want on Instagram, right?
Right.
Like, we only put out what we want people to see. But if people only knew literally the blood, sweat, and tears that goes on behind the chair, like behind the scene, behind the chair, like the amount of preparation that I do in order to get the opportunity. So none of this, it's not talent. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not luck. It's really not luck. It's literally constantly preparing myself for all these opportunities, like making sure that I'm taking classes, making sure that I'm networking, making sure that I'm giving you an experience of a lifetime, making sure that I'm providing the needs. Like, that's like, it's a constant work ethic. And if you are gonna work when you feel like it, it's just not gonna happen. It's not about feeling. That's why I said, like, emotions can be deceiving. Like, you have to learn. But one of the best advices I got was learn to know when to switch light on and off. So it's not about when you feel like it, it's about, you need to be so in tune with your skill set and what you do that it doesn't matter how you're feeling, you're able to turn that switch on and off, because it's so embedded in you from so much practice and training, that you're able to do it regardless of how you're feeling. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So like, a lot of that,
so true.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from, that work ethic comes from just overtime and experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So for those of you who just jumped back on, thank you for coming back. Joss had just told me about her first celebrity style sewing session with Gerald Green, and how she didn't have to go and seek after like a celebrity to book her. Literally, it came from somebody else telling him about her, and him hitting her up and saying, hey, can I book you for a hair service? She also said something that was super important, and it's literally not, I have to be that Jesus person, but God is not a respecter of persons. And you can see that even with how Jaws treats her clients. She treats all of them equally, uniquely, but still equally, because there's nobody better than else. And I loved how you said that 2 years ago, before you did the clover on his head, you were practicing on a mannequin. And I feel like people need to grasp that. Like, what you do in private really impacts how God sees what you do. Not to get all into this, but I have to say this because it's so important. It's what you do in your private time. Like, you have to be someone just dedicated to your craft, dedicated to your dreams, and you don't have in your heart. Sometimes it's best to just keep that to yourself, so that way you can perfect it, grow it, and expand. So thank you so much for sharing that. I can't wait.
No, and it's true what you're saying. Like, if things are at a 90%, like at 100%, if you're whatever you're accomplishing or wanting to do is at a 90%, even then you wait till you get to that 95 before you even start putting it out there. Why? Because you still have to fine tune and still have to do things, and that's where the integrity comes from too with that.
Yes. Cool. So one of my questions is, as a hairstylist, an influencer, what is the number one key for you to use?
That was learn to know when to switch light on and off. So it's not about when you feel like it, it's about, you need to be so in tune with your skill set and what you do that it doesn't matter how you're feeling, you're able to turn that switch on and off, because it's so embedded in you from so much practice and training, that you're able to do it regardless of how you're feeling. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So like, a lot of that,
so true.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from, a lot of that work ethic comes from just overtime and experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So for those of you who just jumped back on, thank you for coming back. Joss had just told me about her first celebrity style sewing session with Gerald Green, and how she didn't have to go and seek after like a celebrity to book her. Literally, it came from somebody else telling him about her, and him hitting her up and saying, hey, can I book you for a hair service? She also said something that was super important, and it's literally not, I have to be that Jesus person, but God is not a respecter of persons. And you can see that even with how Jaws treats her clients. She treats all of them equally, uniquely, but still equally, because there's nobody better than else. And I loved how you said that 2 years ago, before you did the clover on his head, you were practicing on a mannequin. And I feel like people need to grasp that. Like, what you do in private really impacts how God sees what you do. Not to get all into this, but I have to say this because it's so important. It's what you do in your private time. Like, you have to be someone just dedicated to your craft, dedicated to your dreams, and you don't have in your heart. Sometimes it's best to just keep that to yourself, so that way you can perfect it, grow it, and expand. So thank you so much for sharing that. I can't wait.
No, and it's true what you're saying. Like, if things are at a 90%, like at 100%, if you're whatever you're accomplishing or wanting to do is at a 90%, even then you wait till you get to that 95 before you even start putting it out there. Why? Because you still have to fine tune and still have to do things, and that's where the integrity comes from too with that.
Yes, so good. All right, I'm gonna jump into some more brand personal development for those who want to build their platforms, even as a stylist, as an influencer. So one of my questions is, as a hairstylist, an influencer/influencer, what is the number one key for you to use that you've used in building your brand?
Knowing my personal brand, so that way it transitions into my personal brand. So knowing who you are is so important to branding yourself. So one of the most powerful things, we've spoken about this, that I learned, and this is why people talk about like beauty school is whack. No, you're whack because you did not take advantage of it. Like, I don't invest my time and energy into things that don't grow, like don't help me grow. And if I feel that, it's trial and error. If I try something and it just didn't work for me, it didn't work for me. But in beauty school, one of the dopest things I will say, shout outs to like Tony and Guy, was from the very moment you walk in, they're like, what's your brand?
Yes,
what's your brand?
That was like my favorite part of beauty school. Like, and I think that's one thing that I even expanded upon when I left beauty school. Even with my friends, I was like, Doug, you want to build this brand? What's your brand? How are you representing yourself? Are you looking the part? Like, show up as that. Not like you're trying to be that. Show up as that.
Yeah, like, it doesn't matter if you're this Newberry Street high fashion looking person or if you're like this nitty gritty street glam style. Like, it doesn't matter which one you are. It's just being true and authentic to that. So I think the biggest thing was knowing who I was. Like, I knew that I didn't want to work on Newberry Street. And by Newberry Street, those who don't know, like, that's like considered the highest place, or like Wellesley and those areas, like the highest, like, oh, that's where I want to go work at, right? So like, I knew I didn't want to be in a super upscale location and place because it wasn't true to my spirit or who I am. Like, I'm the most calm, cool, and collective person. I like to still have a good time, but I'm very when it comes to seriousness, I'm very serious about my delivery and my work ethic. That is what I'm serious about. So I knew I had Newberry skills, but I didn't want to be in Newberry, if that makes sense. So I just had to know who I was. Like, who am I? What speaks volumes to me? What do I cherish? What are my values? What are my morals? What's my belief system, right? Within myself, because everything, believe it or not, whatever you are inward, it projects out. And the more you put off on things, it comes out later on in life. I always call it the Kanye West syndrome. Like, when you get so successful that at one point you have to, like, regardless of now or later, you're going to have to deal with all your insecurities and all the things that have hindered you, right? So one of the biggest things I will say that has helped me in my platform was knowing who I am. And that changes all the time, right? Because you die to yourself every single day. So constantly reevaluating myself, reevaluating where I'm going, where I want to go, making sure that it's authentically me in the process, and then showcasing that. And I feel that you might be sitting, I think the biggest downfall with a lot of influencers and people on social media is that you're switching up so much because you're trying to keep up with trends, but that may not be for you, number one. But number two, I think the biggest thing is that you're not consistent. And by consistent, I'm not saying consistently posting. I'm saying 1 minute you want to be posting all the time, and then the next minute you don't, right? So like, I think what's helped me is that I've been an open book on social media. I've allowed people to see my progress and my process. One of the biggest compliments I get from my clients and from people who've been following from me for years, I have people who follow me and literally have never sat in my chair. Wow. Ever. And they constantly will randomly send me messages on DM, like, glory to God. They'll be like, Jazz, I literally remember seeing you post pictures in that little rinky dinky barbershop 3-4 years ago, and all of a sudden now you have your own studio, your own brand, your own this, your own that. Like, I literally, you're okay with posting that you're a student, that you're taking classes, that you're going into barbering school. Like, these are all the different things that I feel that you have to be. Yes, there are things that you have to keep to yourself, but as someone who's trying to grow their following, someone who's trying to be a brand marketing person, whatever, like, you have to be okay with showing your process, because what we go through isn't for us. It's for building and sharing, and what God gives us is for others, not for us. So our experiences are meant to share with others. So I allow people to see my process, but I'm also consistent with that. Like, if I'm showing you something, there's a lesson behind it. I'm not just showing it to brag, and I'm not showing it because I want attention. And taking baby steps with that, right? So, like, make sure that you don't go from being like, I'm a braider, to like 3 weeks later I'm doing frontals. Like, it's just too much. So you have to baby step. Like, hey, listen, I took this class this week. Oh, I did this model. Hey, what? Like, you have to be patient with your following, because you are so excited to share all this raw material that you've been sitting on for so long, that now you're just trying to get it out there, and then you're overwhelming the people that are following you. And that may be good or bad. Somebody might be like, oh, she's killing it right now, but somebody else is like, yo, this is a little too much. So it's finding that happy medium balance, and always bringing it back to who are you and how do you want to project that and show people so they're able to grow with you in your journey.
That's so good. So going from that, since you know who you are and you're constantly reflecting on who you are and how to better yourself and better your brand, walk me through what a day looks like for you. Like, how does that look for you?
Okay. So my day starts about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and my day probably ends close to midnight.
Wow.
Yes. So most days I'm up between 4 and 5:30 in the morning. I always like to start my day. I have like a routine that just works for me, and it's helped me stay in balance. So my mornings are for me. So before I start my day, before I give it to anyone or anything, social media, whatever, I start my day with me. So that's where I start my 30 for 30. So my 30 for 30 is basically, so every other month I try to do a 30 for 30, which is 30 days of mental, physical, and spiritual growth. And how, like, showing you guys an insight of like what it takes to be by Jaws, what it takes to be the person that I portray or that I showcase on social media. Because one of the amazing things is that I'm consistently, who you see on social media is who I am outside of social media. I'm not two different people. So a day in a life for me is starting my day with myself, getting my spiritual wellness and physical and mental. And once I've done that, then I get my day started. Depending, right now, we're in quarantine, but a typical day would be either I'm in school or I'm at work or just at work, and my hours are usually really, really long. And then once I'm done with the day, I usually come home and I get myself situated before the next day. So I literally spend about 2-3 hours at the end of the day, either going through emails, rebranding, talking to my social media intern and projecting projects that we have moving forward, and literally getting prepared for you guys the next day, and making sure that everything's up to date. So a lot of my day is broken down into, this is for me and me and my time with God and who I am and where I'm trying to go to. And then this is my time for me to be at work. This is all my career oriented things. And then at the end of the night, it's my reflective periods. It's like, how do we move forward with everything I've reflected with myself and everything I've done with my career for the day? What are my pros and cons, and how can I do better the next day? And that's my ending day. Yeah.
I love that you do the reflecting piece. And I feel like that's one thing, as I've gotten older, I've realized is so like powerful. Like, I remember being like a young teenager and I journal all the time. And then I don't know where or what happened, probably just got all twisted up in life. Yeah. But I stopped that reflection part of my life. And I realized that really started to hinder me because I wasn't getting certain things out. And I wasn't really being the type of person to communicate with myself. They say, you might call it crazy, but talking to yourself is the key to, I don't know, success. If you can talk to your friends, that's cool. But to talk to yourself is so powerful. So with you saying that, you know, allowing yourself to have time in the beginning of your day to dedicate, whether it be mental, spiritual, or physical, or even all three, is so powerful. And then again, at the end of the day, to be able to sit back, not get wrapped up with Netflix or any like streaming device or even social media, but just to mellow in and just be with yourself and like say, hey, okay, let me just reflect on my day. How was I? Did I feel good? Did I do all the things I wanted to do? What didn't I do? And then just kind of like end off like that is so good. So that leads to my next question. What keeps you going when things get tough?
So that's actually, so every time people ask me that, it is so, it's heartfelt and it's so raw. Yes. Because what keeps me going are my siblings. Literally, what keeps me going. Like, they're my biggest motivators. They're my biggest team. Like, it sounds cheesy. Again, being one of 7 siblings. I grew up where like, the pros and cons. Like, oh my God, I gotta share everything. Or all the hand-me-downs.
Girl, I mean, I don't have 7. I got 2, but
Girl, listen, 7 is a lot.
I bet.
My 2 sisters are my best friends. And my 4 brothers are the reason I do everything I do, because they're constantly like, I'm the representation of a strong woman to them. So I want to constantly showcase to them that like, it's not about proving anything to them, but showcasing to them that like, no, this is like yes, I'm a human. I'm going to be heartbroken at times. I'm going to feel like I'm not enough sometimes. I'm going to feel like everything I'm doing is not working. It's so many different things, right? But when I see that I can make a difference in my brother's life, right? We talk about women empowerment, but there's something different about being able to speak life into a man. Right. And being able to bring the hero out of them. And I've seen how much I've been able to inspire my brothers to just be unapologetically like raw and be the best they can, and constantly seeing how inspired they are. And to see me as someone that's like, I'm not nurturing them in a babyish way. And I'm not, being Spanish, we tend to baby our men. But like, I think
that's Caribbean culture too.
Yeah, that's Caribbean.
I'm like, Mom.
Listen. But I'm like, I don't baby my brothers. I'm so honest with them. And I think that what keeps me going in the hardest times is being able to be exactly who God has called me to be. And I don't need to be like super religious, but it's constantly like, especially moments like this, like quarantine and everything, it just makes you really reflect. And I'm just like, a lot of the times that I felt like giving up or giving in, I just go back to that. I'm like, one of my brother, like I gotta, like, my brothers are my fire, you know?
Wow.
See, my brother's already in there. He's like, go off, sis.
That's right. Keep that energy. Yeah. To keep it going, what is one of your biggest failures you've ever had, and what did you learn from it?
I will say one of my biggest failures was not knowing my self-worth.
Okay.
And allowing others to project that on me. I think there was a time in my life, maybe about 5 years ago, where I was just kind of, again, I was a dancer the majority of my life, a professional trained studio, like, dancer. I did a lot of hip hop, like I said before, break dancing. I had to emphasize that, right? But I think that it was such a character for me. And when I dislocated my shoulder about 7 years ago, and I wasn't the same. I was supposed to get operated. I was supposed to go through all these different things. And it literally broke me down. Like, it humbled me, because I was just like, no, I got my friends, I got my dance, I got my career, I got all this stuff. I don't care about nothing else. And it made me really look at life in a different way. And it taught me to, like, the importance of being aware, and the importance of, like, the more you know, the more money in your pocket, right? So, like, having all these different ventures and different aspects that you can always dabble in, like in situations like this, like quarantine, where you're like, all right, I can't do hair, but let's talk about career. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about other things. Like, how are you? It's not being so embedded in one thing that you lose yourself so badly. So I think one of the biggest things I did was losing myself, and finding myself was a process within itself. But that's why more now than ever, I'm so aware of, like, consistently checking in with myself, reflecting, making sure that I'm 100% in tune with whatever it is that I need to be in tune with at that moment, and prioritizing.
What would you tell your 13-year-old self?
Don't rush. Really enjoy being present. It's not what it makes it all out to be. I think that we're such in a rush all the time. And I think when you're 12, you can't wait to be 13. When you're 13, you can't wait to be 18. When you're 18, you can't wait to be 21. Then you hit 21 and you're like, this is it. So it's like the limitations that people, yeah, it's the limit. I feel like by being limited or being given limitations of you can only do this at this age and this all that stuff, it kind of puts pressure on you to grow up too fast. And I feel like I would have just told myself, like, if I could give myself advice at 13, I would have said, be patient and just like be present and take my time and really enjoy being present. Because you don't get that chance again. You know what I mean? Right. You know, and then you're like, and then at 30, 40, 50, you're trying to recreate your teens again. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, you know?
So true. What would you tell your 50-year-old self?
I'm gonna make you proud.
I felt that. I felt that.
Spend enough time in your solitude. Spend enough time in your alone, so you're able to deal with the things that are meant for you to deal with. So that way you can come out of it a better version of yourself and be able to put out exactly what it is that you're meant to, like whatever your calling is, whatever your destiny is, you're able to fulfill that and not walk around with that trauma, because trauma is real. Trauma is a real thing. True. Pain is a real thing, and it's going to be an ongoing thing that you have to deal with and cope with, right? But I feel like the more you can be honest with yourself to the point where you don't even want to talk to your damn self because you're like, wait, this is too real.
Right.
It at least will let you know, like, it's like being self-awareness. So my best advice, if I could give one advice to anybody, it would be spend enough time in your solitude. So then that way the spirit, your body, and your mind can lead you into the direction where you're supposed to go to, and you're able to cope and heal from the things you're supposed to.
Right. I definitely agree. Joz, thank you so much for doing this interview. Guys, I just want to do a brief little recap for those of you guys jumping on, for coming back to the live, even though it crashed. Like, thank you. I hope this information has been very insightful, inspiring. I hope her story has touched you or even sparked a light in your mind. Literally, just hearing how you've grown as a stylist, hearing the advice you've given. I think one thing that I really want to highlight for people today is like taking advantage of this time to get to know who you are. Like, get to know yourself. Do not be distracted by social media. Do not be distracted by work. I understand people have kids at home, family members, and some people might be in their house by themselves, which is cool, but really take this time to get to know yourself. The other day, Emmanuel posted something saying, like, now is the time to build the brands. Everyone's been saying, if I had time to do this, do that, blah, 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 then I would do this. In order to do that, I hope this doesn't cut off because I just froze. At least I look like I froze. Am I good?
Yeah, you did freeze, but we can still hear you. Oh. Girl, what is going on?
Guys, thank you again. So what I was saying was I was kind of recapping our conversation, and Joz, you could chime in. But really just one thing I've gotten from this whole experience with interviewing you and talking with you and hearing your story and the advice that you've given and the light that you're shining is literally for people to take advantage of this time to really get to know themselves. Don't be distracted with social media, your friends, your family, all these different ways to kind of get your mind going in different things. Like, really take the time to get to know who you are, whether it's journaling more, whether it's writing down the top 10 goals that you have. That's one thing my mentor always told me, write down the top 10. Even listening to your body. Foods have you been putting in since you've been home that's giving you mucus, making you feel sick? Like, are you drinking enough water? Like, different things like that. And so I love that, Joz, that you spoke about how, and I'm going to just say it again, like how in the beginning of your day, you give yourself that time to really, pour into yourself physically, spiritually, mentally. And then again, at the end of the day, when you go home after you finish your clients and you literally reflect, what were some of the things that you did? What could you have done better? What are some things that you wanted to do but may not have been able to? What things do you want to go to to, you know, what things do you want to do for the next day or for the month ahead.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for a lot of people to hear when knowing who you are, creating a brand, creating a platform. Even if it's not creating a brand, like you could be a stay-at-home mom, you could be someone that's more behind the scenes. It's like, really, are you taking the time to know who you are, to know how you work, to know what best works for you when you work with other people? And how are you communicating with yourself? Because you can't be someone to communicate with others if you can't even communicate with yourself. Because how will you allow people to help you? Or how can you allow yourself to help others if you don't know how you yourself operate? And one of the other I loved about our conversation as a stylist that you said you love to make sure you're just honest. You're honest with your clients, and that you keep the integrity of their hair as the first thing on top of your mind. Like whenever it's a book with you, you think about how you make sure their hair is taken care of, and then also how you don't chase after the places that you want to occupy. Literally, you just do what you have to do, whether it's behind the scenes, personally, in your own house, to bring you to the next place. Like, I think for those of you who are just joining in, when Joss said that 2 years ago, she was at home braiding a mannequin, writing Celtics with the braids, and did a clover, and her mom stopped her and asked her, what is she doing? And she said, I'm practicing so when the celebrities and the athletes, you know, ask me, I'm ready. That was 2 years ago before she did Gerald Grenier. And mind you, months before that hairstyle got so much, she said she was doing his hair, I think you said 3 months before that. And a lot of people only see what they see on social media, which is like the final product. But I'm here, and Joss is here as well, to encourage you to keep doing those things that you're doing under wraps. Don't feel the pressure of your friends or the social media stars or anybody to feel like you have to put your content as soon as you do it, or even tell everybody what your plan is. Like even with this interview today, I didn't tell anybody. The only person that knows about this was my husband, who also encouraged me. But I remember just working on this overnight, and I was just like, if I told anyone, they could either derail me, discourage me, or even over criticize me, which could literally mess with what I feel that it was planted inside of me with this.
I will say that, not to cut you off, Angel, but I would definitely say that the best outcomes I've ever experienced in my career and my life and everything were things that I didn't tell anyone and I just did.
Yes.
Because of the amount of discouragement that comes with that. And like with everything that you're saying and just piggybacking off of it, I think a lot of it is like understanding that everyone's like, oh, this is the perfect time to start a business. This is the perfect time to do all that. Everyone is so overwhelmed because there's just way too much information right now because nobody can do anything else. So there's so much virtual information happening right now, right? So you have to separate that time and really separate what balance is. So it's not about start that business and start this and start that. It's about, okay, you have the next X amount of time to really just deal with yourself in a way that you probably have never really actually wanted to even, but the universe is forcing you to. So it's like either you're going to come by grace or you're going to come by choice. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, it's making sure that you're able to deal with yourself. So then when you're dealing with yourself, you're able to think clearer and you're able to think on a higher frequency. And when you're thinking on a higher frequency, you no longer care about what anybody else thinks because you're just out there doing you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So true. It's so true. And so to encourage people, and I hope everybody that was on this live follows Jaws. Her handles being attached at the top, and it will be also in the recap. But follow her. She's an amazing stylist. She works on all types of hair textures. When I tell you all types, I mean from bone straight to kinky curly, super texture. Follow her. She does amazing things with hair as well as entrepreneurship and how to build up her brand, as well as help others kind of be inspired and, you know, adapt and adopt, I should say, healthy habits, whether it's through working out, through time with yourself. And I want to thank you, Joss, for shedding some light today. I thank God for you, and I thank God for your story. And I really pray that he continues to accelerate you and, you know, bring you to the next level in your career as a woman who is changing the hair game by storm. I mean, like, you've done things that I've never seen a stylist do. And for somebody that's been in the industry to watch you grow as a stylist and, you know, really help women and men take care of their hair is so empowering. And I actually got to do a shout out a shout out to your product. And I have it right here. Shameless. This right here, like to make my own hair oil. This right here is good stuff. When this whole corona is over, rush over to her salon and get you some. When I tell you, it's so lightweight. My hair loves it. I just need a little bit, run it through my hands, put it in my curls. It's literally so good. And like whenever I do like even some scalp things, like if I want to massage my scalp, I literally put it in. I love that Josh shared with us that jojoba oil is one of her favorite things to use in hair products and on her clients' hair. Doesn't matter what texture you are. It's so good. And actually, I use jojoba oil on my skin, and I mean, I love it. Like, girl. So if you
the reason it's amazing is because literally, like your skin, it's so healthy for both your skin and your hair. So it's not like most
literally,
oils
I was
that you
gonna
can
ask
put
you,
it.
like,
Yes.
literally.
So it's kind of like where most oils, when you put it at the root, which most people have the tendency of putting it at their scalp gets clogged up, or they get this weird residue, or they get all this like weird reactions, and it's because it's not as good for your skin either. So oils like jojoba oil are amazing because they're good for both skin and hair, and they're good across the board for any texture. Yeah,
and so for all the guys that may be in my life as well, she does beard oil. So if you've been trying to grow your beard out, but
listen,
a little something, like a little patch hair. I wish I saw this. Like, I wish I saw your beard oil and I remembered, like, yo, grab Manny some, because, like, I know, like, we're still trying to figure out if we want him to grow a beard or not, but, like, I'm like, I know him and my brother, they have the spots. Like, I know a lot of guys get the spots where they're like, oh, nothing grows there. So I'm like, I wonder, like, if they continue to, like, massage your face and, you know, do the good steps to produce the hair growth, would it grow in? And I'm pretty sure it would. So thank you for this amazing product. Guys, if you don't have it, make sure you get it when the whole quarantine thing is over. Joss, thank you again for sharing your story. I don't know if you have anything else you want to share with the people before we close out, but this is your time, girl.
She's like, this is your moment. No, just thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, like, thank you for all your patience. I know we've had to start the lives up like 15 million times, but we appreciate you joining in, coming in, listening. I hope you guys took anything away. Stay tuned with Angel. Her lifestyle vlogs and everything that she does is just amazing. She does it genuinely. So definitely follow her too. And yeah, just stay tuned, stay light, stay in high frequencies. Whenever that anxiety and stress kicks in, like, just always find something to ground yourself with again. And remember, you know, just be honest with yourself, be real with yourself, and anything that is true to you will like literally project from inwards out, and you'll be good.
Thank you again, Joss.
Welcome, baby. Thank you so much for having me. Love you too, babe.
No problem.
Hey.
Bye. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that candid conversation with me and Joss. This was one of many conversations that I want to have. For those of you guys who are now joining in, welcome. I'm Angel. If you don't know me, now you know me. We are family, hugs all around. I wanted to use my platform to share stories and shed light. And Joss is an amazing stylist from Boston. She's also a traveling stylist. And so to know that she is, one, accelerating, but also giving back to the community. That's one thing we didn't even get to touch on, but she pours back into the community by having certain community events where she has a whole bunch of barbers come through, hairstylists, and they give back by doing children's hair, people that don't necessarily have the money to get their hair done. She just does a lot of amazing things. So stay tuned for my next interview next Saturday. I'll probably do another interview during the week, but normally I'm going to really commit myself on doing interviews on Saturday at 2. If you would love to share your story, hit me up. I already have a list of people that I will be interviewing for the next couple of Saturdays, but you know, life happens. Sometimes people got to rearrange themselves. So thank you again for joining. Thank you again for, you know, listening to her story. I love you guys. I hope to hear from you guys soon. If you love this interview, even though we had to do it like 5 times, please let me know. I will be posting the recap. And yeah, so thanks guys. Peace. Love you. And now I'm going to do the weird thing that everyone does when they try to end their live. They like click the button and then it asks something else and then they finally end it.